Kuru, a quiet rural town in northern Nigeria, lived little David. He never knew his parents. His mother had died when he was just a baby, and his father was never in the picture. He was raised by his grandmother, Mama Yewa, a kind but frail woman who did her best to care for him. They were poor, struggling to find food daily, and schooling was only a dream for David. Despite his challenges, David was a bright boy, and he loved learning and would sit outside the village school, listening to the lessons from the window. He practiced writing in the sand with a stick and solved math problems in his head. One day, a foreign missionary named Reverend John noticed him. He saw the determination in David's eyes and decided to help. With Mr. John's support, David was enrolled in school. His love for learning blossomed, and he quickly became the top student in his class. Years passed, and David's hard work paid off. Reverend John found sponsors who gave him a scholarship to study medicine abroad. It was a dream come true. He promised Mama Yewa that he would return one day and help the people of Kuru. With that, he left for medical school in a faraway country. While in medical school, David returned home for a health event organized by a local NGO in the big city of Jos. There he met Naomi, a young and passionate journalist. She was covering the event, and they struck up a conversation. They found they had a lot in common, and soon their friendship grew. Naomi was an ambitious reporter who believed in truth and justice. One day, while covering a political event, she met a young and influential politician, Honorable Tanko. He was drawn to her beauty and intelligence and asked her out. Naomi politely refused, but Tanko did not take rejection well. Now he became obsessed with her, determined to win her over. He seemed to conveniently pop up at the same events and places with Naomi, and on one occasion offered her an expensive gift, to which Naomi declined. Tanko ordered his men to dig up more about Naomi's personal life. They soon realized she was close to David. Tanko saw him as a threat. He ordered his men to spy on David. The job was assigned to the Kolo twins, two brothers whose image had become accustomed with brute force and terror. They followed David one evening as he went to see Naomi. Naomi recounted how Tanko had become obsessed with her. David and Naomi were really worried the situation was quickly escalating and didn't seem to know what to do. They were really afraid of the politician and his thugs. One evening, as David walked home, a black SUV stopped beside him. Before he could react, some men in dark sunglasses pulled him inside and drove off. He was taken to an unknown location and locked up without explanation. Naomi was frantic when David disappeared. She cried herself to sleep most nights as David's mysterious disappearance became more concerning. One night, as she was getting ready for bed, she received a phone call from an unknown number who threatened to harm David unless she played along. Using her skills as a journalist, she started digging. She uncovered corruption scandals tied to Tanko, illegal dealings, embezzlement, and abuse of power. Armed with evidence, she published a report that shook the nation. Public outrage followed, and authorities were forced to investigate. Tanko was openly booed whenever he was spotted in public places. Fearing exposure, Tanko ordered his men to release David. It was a bittersweet moment as the two friends were reunited again. David and Naomi's bond grew stronger after the ordeal, and they spent more time together. One day, David received a letter from Kuru. It was bad news. His grandmother was dead. David wept bitterly. Weeks after the funeral, Naomi told David how she missed her mother, who had passed on shortly after she got her first job as a reporter in the city of Jos. My mother often told me stories of a childhood friend she had when she lived in Kuru, Naomi said to David, as she brought out an old crumpled photo with two teenage girls in it. As Naomi gently stroked the photo, David froze momentarily. "Can I have a closer look at that photo?" he said to Naomi. She was shocked to see tears rolling down David's face as he asked her, "What was the name of your mother's friend?" "Amina," Naomi replied. "My mother's name was Amina. The young girl in the photo is my mother," David said. At this, they both hugged each other in a tight embrace as tears freely gushed down their cheeks. It was as if fate had brought them together. Looking into her eyes as he wiped away her tears with his finger, David said, "I love you, Naomi." And Naomi hugged me even tighter as she replied, "I have waited to hear it from you. I love you too, David." David continued his medical journey and became a doctor, while Naomi pursued truth through her journalism. They became inseparable and supported each other, knowing that their story had just begun.